Welcome y'all to Digging Too Deep with Keith Robinson. I got a special on-set guest today, and we've been trying to do this for a minute. Sensay 9.
Peace, 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 peace and love, gratitude. Thank you for having me. Glad we finally made it happen, brother.
Man, it took a minute,
Yes,
but we
sir.
did it.
Yes, sir.
We did it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm grateful.
Yes,
Grateful
sir.
for you being on set, man.
So am I. See.
So you're on set today because I wanted to talk about examining history, his story. It's part of a docuseries that we're doing. And that's why you're here today. We're going to talk about that when we come back after these messages on Digging Too Deep. Thank y'all for tuning in to Digging Too Deep on the Marvel Not Network. If you like the content, then please like, share, and subscribe. And you can also catch us at www.marvelnotnetwork.com. Thank y'all for coming back with us. I've got Sensay 9 here. And before we jump into going straight into his story, man, I gotta list something for you. The founder of Healing Time, spiritual advisor, numerologist, astronomer, Reiki master, tarot reader, and herbalist. I just thought that was a powerful list I should read, man, because I mean, we're getting to that because I've got to know. And the reason I got to know, because just reading that from where I'm raised up in, man, that's mysticism, witchcraft. And so, we'll get into that later, but I've had to list that because those are your credentials, and I just think that's powerful. And the name itself, Sensay 9. Explain that to me, man. What is that about?
Man, first of all, gratitude for that beautiful intro. I appreciate that.
Right on.
First of all, the name Sensay 9 is something that I kind of, I got that. The name Sensay come from the streets first.
Okay.
I actually used to use that on my gamer tag. I used to play PlayStation a lot. So that was my online name, Sensay.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it was Sensay 007, which represented the hood that I'm from, Bunton, right? South
Okay.
Dallas.
Stand up.
So yeah, so it was like Bunton in the building. So it was like, back then I used to use that as a gamer tag, but it was also in reference to somebody that people used to come to for advice all the time. Most of my partners started calling me Sensay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also in reference to the Houston rapper, Big Pokey.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
rest in power to Big Pokey, right? So his name was Sensay as well. And we kind of had a resemblance. So in that place, we began to kind of see a resemblance, and I actually met Big Pokey, right? So when I met Big Pokey, we began to kind of transact on some drug stuff, right? Because I came from the streets. I used to sell drugs.
Right.
So at that time, I used to always be somebody that people can come to for remedies, all type of stuff. I was always that advisor, that
Sensay for real.
Yeah. So I kind of had that vibration on a personal level, right, with a lot of my friends. So as I became this energy that I am now, I kind of reincorporated, because on Facebook and a lot of my social media, even on Instagram, it was Sensay 007. That was my first Instagram name.
Okay.
So when I put the 9 behind it, it kind of gave me more of a significance, because this is when I changed from his story to my own story.
Okay.
Right? That names carry energies. Names carry a title. These are just expressions of who we are. So Sensay is just an expression of me now.
Right.
So a lot of times as you change your name, you change your vibration. So my old name in the streets was Shout Cake. All right. I was short and I kept weed and money. All right. So it was this transition for me into actually embodying that I'm Sensay. Right. I am that advisor, and it's like, I don't teach Kung Fu. I teach mental. All right. Martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mental
I mean?
calisthenics.
Yeah, mental gymnastics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me stop right there right quick, because you said something, transition.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you had told me about a certain person that had a real significance in your life and in your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Mr. Creasy.
Michael Creasy.
Michael Creasy.
Yeah.
I just want to back you up for a second, because I want you to tell the people what you told me about him. and then we'll get back because it locks in with the transition.
Mm. Well, you know, it's beautiful that you even brought that back in, because during that time when I was in my early years, I was somebody who I was in debate classes, I was like in honors classes, I was in tag.
Tag being
tag being talented
and gifted. Yeah.
So I went to H.S. Thompson, which is in South Dallas. I also went to junior high, which is Pearl C. Anderson. And within that, it was a 6th, 7th, 8th grade kind of learning center, but it was in 7th, 8th grade years. So it was actually right out of elementary when I met Mr. Creasy. And right into that, he was coming into being my 7th grade teacher. So he met me in my 6th grade year. During the summer when I met Mr. Creasy, me and my cousin, we spent time with him a lot. He ended up taking us to go see the movie Malcolm X, but before that, he was the first person to introduce to me the concept of history versus mystery. I remember he wrote it on the chalkboard, and he wrote it down, and he wrote down history, and he asked us, what do we see? So, you know, we're in history class, and we see history. So he say, okay, let me break it down. So he separated the word his and then story. So it just blew our minds, right? So in that moment, he was like, okay, so why do you think we're in here learning from these books? And we was just like, remind you, we like 12, 11,
right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
Right,
so we like, what is you talking about? So he like, why do you think we're learning from these books? We're learning his story. And he was like, our story is a mystery. And we was like, wow, I'll never forget the silence.
Mystery, my story.
My story.
Ooh, that's
so
powerful.
When he wrote that down on the chalkboard, when he broke down the my and then steery, and then he broke that down into story.
And you 11, 12, the most impressionable years.
Yes, and it was like so profound because he even broke down the vowel of the O and the E. Even the pronunciation of the word and how E can sound out like an O. E and O goes together, and a lot of times the E becomes silent. So even breaking down the English language and understanding that this language, the linguistics of it, the sound, the vibration of words, he didn't really go into it in that context, but even now as I kind of look at it and I understand what we were dealing with.
It's crazy you said that because the first word came to mind was Phoebes, P-H-O-E-B-E-S.
Yes.
Wow.
And so it was so dynamic to us at that age to experience that. So it was something that stuck with me throughout my latter years. So when I made this transition into Sensay 9, it was around when my mother transitioned in 2004, as I shared with you earlier.
Right.
When she transitioned, you know, I lost a part of me, and I didn't know what I was missing, right? So I began to seek this connection with my mother, and even though she wasn't physically with me anymore, I felt like I could still connect with her.
Man, that's powerful.
I just didn't know how, you know? And I felt this energy of her present, but I couldn't touch it. I couldn't physically even grasp it, you know? So it was when I began to kind of lean more into saying that I don't know. And especially when I read the Bible like 3 times. And I'm smoking weed, reading the Bible. I'm drinking Surd. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm 320 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
And I lost myself. And it was beautiful because now I say I lost my mind, but I found my heart. Right? So
let's say that again.
Yeah, I lost my mind, but I found my heart. So, you know, even in the scripture it says, be ye renewed of the mind. Right? So at this time, I was renewing my mind. I didn't know what I was doing. But I began to wake up. You know, the first stage of awakening, you begin to get angry, right? You're on YouTube, you realize they putting poison in the food.
Yeah.
You starting to realize that school has been a program, the education system, school, the prison pipeline.
Yeah, TV.
You start to realize that they carrying your social security number, you the straw man. You start to realize all these things in the early stages and you get angry, right? You get upset because you feel like now those that came before me didn't know the truth.
Yeah.
And now you want to just run out and tell the truth.
The truth.
These are the early stages of awakening.
The awakening.
Yes.
The truth.
Yes.
The age of Aquarius is here, brother.
Yes. And we are in it. We are it. Right?
There it is.
So
we are the truth.
Yes. And that's why the scripture says you are the truth, the life, light, and the way. Right?
Wow.
So when I began to understand the equation or the power of words, and when I began to take my own journey to find and seek, and I began to question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in church they tell us we can't question.
They call it blasphemous, sacrilegious, if you get to thinking.
You just got to believe.
And hope.
You can't question God.
And you got to hope.
Yeah, and don't question the preacher. Don't question the pastor. You out of line for that. It's the reason why I learned that as children we go to church and we fall asleep. We check out mentally. Ooh. Somebody got to force us to wake up. Right?
Ooh.
You know?
Ooh.
So it's like somebody is enforcing indoctrination upon us. You know? So it's so dynamic when you think about it.
Hold that thought right there, because we're going to think about it when we come back after these messages. Thank y'all for tuning in to Digging Too Deep on the Marvel Knot Network. If you like the content, then please like, share, and subscribe. And you can also catch us at www.marvelknotnetwork.com.
George Crumb, 1824 to 1914. Crumb, a chef and restaurateur, is said to have unintentionally created the potato chip during the summer of 1853. They were made in response to a customer who sent back their fried potatoes after complaining that they were too thick. The crisps were an instant hit, and though Crumb never patented the creations, chips are arguably now one of the world's most favorite snacks.
Welcome back, y'all. Before we left, we were Sensay was about to really break down the awakening of the thinking part of it once you start making the transition. So that's where we left off. So I'm gonna give it back to you.
Man, you know, the thought process, the mind, you know, it's the word religion comes from religios, right? This means to bind.
Okay.
So what exactly is being bound, right?
Right.
When I began to understand the disconnect from my mother, it led me to a deeper understanding of the disconnect from the feminine energy.
Okay.
Now, this is when I began to understand the scripture in a different way. And this is like when that first stage of awakening, you watch people come to hotel, right? They start going to Africa, they get the African spirituality, and, you know, people start using the Oshun's, and they start calling themselves the ancestors, Ashayan, and, you know, I was in all of that, right?
Right.
I started to speak the metal nature. It led me, the rabbit hole went so deep, it led me into African spirituality. It led me into understanding that Proverbs was written in Africa. It led me to understanding that Exodus came before Revelations. It led me to understanding that the Bible has been usurped. It led me to understanding that the Roman Catholic Church was really in charge of all of the non-profits of the churches and the 501(c)(3)s and how this is a business. It led me to community work.
Yeah, and because when you say usurp, you just, it's like another way of saying that they used it for their favor.
Yes, it's alchemy. It's basically being able to manipulate the mind of a people with a belief system. Right? So you bind the people with beliefs and ideas. Yeah. This becomes a culture, a cult. Sure. Cult, right? Sure. Yeah. So you culture a cell. You understand? Ooh. So we are cells. We're cellular beings, right? So we're not our minds. We're not our bodies. Understanding somebody knows this science and you don't. So they give you more to identify with of this worldly plane. And then the scripture says, learn how to be in the world and not of it. So these are the tricks of the mind. This is why when you go to church, they have to read one scripture and then they have to go to a whole nother book to make this scripture make sense to you. The binding. So it's the binding. It's the back and forth. Words create worlds. This is spell casting, right? You have to learn spelling words in a book. See, these are the early stages when you start to realize this stuff. Spelling words. This is jail terminology. Spells. You have to go to school to learn spelling words. Yeah. The alphabet. Alpha, beta waves. Alphabet. Alpha, beta. These words create worlds because each letter is connected to a number.
Hold on. It's crazy, man, because you're not saying any words or statements that we're not familiar with.
Exactly.
So we get familiar with these things, and then we say them in our everyday. We start saying them by default. Yet we're actually implementing and being taught spellbinding things, spells, and alphabet is alphabet. See, that's flagrant right under, hidden in plain sight, man.
Yes.
And that just takes me back. I had to say it because that's what made me angry. When you get to, oh, you playing with me like that?
It makes you mad.
Yeah, man.
It does. It will piss you off.
And I didn't want to cut you off, but I just wanted people to be able to see that, you got to be able to apply it in your life, though. It's knowledge, but knowledge is just sitting in the library but not picking up none of the books.
But see, this is the power of what you just said. Knowledge, know the ledge.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So the tongue, double-edged sword, right? So when you dealing with knowledge is just an accumulation of shit.
Right.
So this is what they do to us in this reality. They make you think that you have to be smart. The etymology of the word smart means dangerous. See?
Ain't that something?
Yes.
And then they say a little knowledge will make you dangerous.
Yes. See, they give it to you, but
That's
it's
too
a
flagrant,
science.
man.
It's so in our face to where it's almost like
it's like this.
it's comical. Like what you see how we laugh.
Yeah,
Like when
man.
you really think about the shit, you want to hurt somebody.
It takes you through emotional roller coasters.
Yes.
It really does.
This is why they must show us the slave movie every 10 years. This is also why they must keep us in an aspect of indoctrination.
Relate to what's already innate in us.
This is also why the word education, the etymology of it means to induce or to pull from within. This is why when you go to school, when you graduate, you get what's called a cap and gown. They cap you off with their knowledge. The cap is a square because this deals with Saturn. See, when you understand the science of how this universe works and the mechanics of how it works and the powers of these planetary energies, and they got this from us. This is what comedic science taught me. See,
Church.
because in the aspect of knowing the wisdom of the cosmos, you're able to understand the mechanics of man. This is our spiritual being. Man is not only physical, he's also spiritual.
Yeah.
There can be no religion without spirituality. There can be no spirituality without science. To know the science is to understand the interworkings of man. See?
Yeah.
This is the Viturian man.
That's the Egyptian mysteries, huh?
This is the mystery schools.
Yeah.
These are how the eye of Horus represents 1/4 sight, 1/5 smell, right? All these things are symbiotic. This is what a meta nature, the inter means nature. So we didn't reference a God. It wasn't a thing for us to do that. What we did was understand we saw God in all things.
Yeah.
And we saw a polarity of masculine and feminine energy in all things, which the feminine principle is receptive. The masculine energy is invasive. It is logical. It is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The feminine energy is being. See, you are a being first. This is why the scripture says you must learn to be at home in the body. So this is why we must learn spelling words in the schools. They teach you to write in sentences. Just stay with me, right? This is jail terminology.
I'm with you.
So as you breaking this down, as you go through schools, you go through different grades to learn somebody else's knowledge, to learn somebody else's story.
What grade level are you in?
And now you begin to measure yourself based off of 1 or 2 or 3. The numbers play into part. The 6th graders are more important than the 4th graders. The 12th graders are more important than the 9th graders. So this is all showing a comparison. So we naturally begin to compare ourselves to other people. And this is why we begin to be asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? When they begin to take away from your theta stage, the first 7 years of your life, this begins to introduce you to the alpha beta stages before you're ready.
The alphabet. Boy, that's cold.
So the indoctrination begins. So this is why they must induce you or introduce you to the education system. But not only that, this starts at your conception. Your mother signing a birth certificate represents the energy of Venus. This is contractual, right? This is like signing your soul over to somebody. So when you're dealing with this construct, Honoring the laws of the universe is what they must do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a construct. Everything must be consensual. You must agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowingly or unknowingly, willingly or unwillingly. So even if your mama or your father was already indoctrinated, you were already going to be born into that social construct. The chains are no longer physical. They're mental now. It's in your home now. It's in your food now. It's in your school now. It's in your friends now.
Man, that's crazy.
It's in your neighborhood.
It make me think of the baby elephant, man, that they go and they catch in the jungle. And they want to domesticate them, you know.
You said it right.
And they put a big chain on him because that baby fights.
Yes.
Because he ain't been through the levels in the system you talking about yet.
Because guess what the depths of what you just said?
And then watch though. So then they say, well, an elephant always remembers.
Mm.
And then they say, well, now they know that the elephant always going to remember. When he's big, they can put a little bitty string on him.
And guess what? It's so beautiful that you even said that. Keith is deep. He don't know how deep he is. I'm going to help him today.
Hey, man, look here. You got me going. You got me with your sitting in your sin. You got me with my shoes off.
I mean, hey, you know.
Let's get it, man.
It's like,
let's get it.
When you mention the elephant, you see that elephant a lot in the East.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Why is this? The elephant represents wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
The power of the brain to remember, right? Where does this sit? You know, I'm with the science.
Right.
The brain, the elephant represents the hippocalypus, okay? You have two of these on both sides of your brain. This allows you to calibrate what you hear. This is why you have two ears and one mouth, okay? So the hippocalypuses are connected to what's called the vagus nerve.
Okay.
The vagus nerve is your common sense. This is your gag reflex. This is where your amino acids, and this is where all of the energies of you and the electric vibration of you communicates from the lower to the higher. This is why they call it the golden rule. So does the brain ever forget? See, this is how deep the programming goes. This is why all programming can be subliminal. When you watch a TV, you have to change the channel. You have to look at a program, a commercial or a television show. Tell lie vision. Tell a lie to your vision. The human brain remembers 33% of what it sees and only 10% of what it reads. You see why it was so hard for you to remember that goddamn shit in the book?
Say that again, brother.
The human brain remembers 33% of what it sees. We're visual learners.
Of what it sees.
We're visual learners. Only 10% of what you read. So this is why you have to study so hard. See?
Wow.
Now, the power of what you said is when you remove something from its natural environment. We've been disconnected from nature. The age of Aquarius comes with the age of technology.
We're here, baby.
We have came from when we were in school, right? You go home with an instrument, a guitar, you know, something, you know what I mean, that makes you go play. Now you go home with an iPad, a laptop. Now when your mama or your daddy don't want to hear you talk, go play your PlayStation. Go get on your computer. Go get on your phone. This technology now has become our comfort zones and a lot of times
babysitter
and our prison.
And speaking of, they put them in prison to make things more comfortable. Like you said, the comfort zone.
Because now the very same things that can make our life a lot more easier can also be our demise.
Because little kids are growing up on them, and now they're saying that it affects their peripheral vision because they're always doing this.
Because guess what? It affects the way they socialize. Because now, this is why children talk about everybody ops. Listen to the young rappers. Everybody op. They play Black Ops.
Same thing.
Call of Duty. See? Now, we dealing with a generational thing, which is Pluto and Capricorn, which is also Pluto and Sagittarius. So the astrological aspects in the scripture is what they use, even based off of every significant day deals with an astrological movement.
Mm-hmm.
Easter deals with the movement of the spring equinox and the first moon, the first full moon of the first new moon coming into the spring. When you deal with Christmas, this deals with the sun going across the southern crux of the southern cross as it makes its way down to the southern hemisphere. So all these are shifting in the cosmos. This is why we deal with summer, winter, spring, and fall. We are connected to these energies symbiotically, but if you spend time in a school, which is giving you artificial light, you spend time at home, which is giving you artificial light. Why do you think now we deal with sunlight the way we do? Now our people are vitamin D deficient, iron deficient. Now we're in the house eating the chemical-based foods, which is now talking about the sugars, the MSGs, all the things that can make us cancerous, acidic, and now we're dealing with high blood pressure, fibromyalgia, lupus, diabetes, heart issues.
All going because we've been steady being disconnected.
That's why if you were to Google right now, the #1 killer in the United States, it is heart disease. So all this is a result of us being acclimated to his story because we don't know our story, which becomes a mystery. So when we talk about spirituality, and when I talk about getting back to nature, grounding, walking with your shoes off, using herbs, understanding your birth chart, understanding the day you were born, these things are foreign to us. Not only are they
taboo almost.
And this is why my journey to Sensay 9 required that, and I say this all the time, your elevation requires separation. Because my family didn't support this. They thought I was going crazy. I thought I was going crazy.
It's funny you say that because when you learn the truth and when you're being awakened, you know, I like to say, hey, you can be woke, but you still got to get out the bed. You know, and I wanted you on here because I fancy you a person, you got out the bed and you've been living this.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm saying that because if I say, man, this is a truth. This is the age of truth. I'm only dealing with truth, lies, there's nothing else, you know, and I'm trying to make a conscious change. I'm glad you have been alluding to the Bible because the first thing people think is that when you're woke, you have to abandon it. You have to demonize it. You have to knock it. And I'm glad you're going back and using some references to it because as a person that has learned the truth and feel that I'm being awakened, my first thought was, man, I hope I wasn't wrong. You know, and that's what makes the anger come. And, you know, then you have this thing to where you don't want to be wrong, so it'll stop you from what? Listening, being open to it, changing, transitioning, whatever you want to call it. So I'm glad you did that because I need everybody to understand this is not a crusade. This is not for conversion. This is the age of Aquarius, and we're going to only speak the truth.
And the truth doesn't set you free, it makes you free. See? So truth is more than words. Truth is not just what you say. Truth is the way you live your life. Truth exists beyond your own likes and dislikes. Truth exists beyond your beliefs, beyond your ideas. A lot of people operate in what they call their truth.
Right.
This is when you are faced with the truth, you will deny it.
And they've done that to us. There's his truth and her truth, then there's the truth. And I've always thought, no, there's still only one truth. You're not going to break it down like there's some different truths or something.
The truth is, we were born and we would die. The truth is, no matter where I see myself in consciousness, if me and you go jump off the top of this roof, both of us can break our damn legs.
Right.
That's the truth.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So the truth about it is, nothing separates us. Only perception. So when somebody understands that your truth can fail in comparison to somebody else's truth, you have to understand compassion here. This is receptivity. This is the feminine principle, see. So this is why when you're dealing with your mama, your mama know the truth about you. Woo! When you're dealing with your girl, she know the truth about you.
Cause she's a receiver. She's received.
She's here for that. How she deals with it ain't up to you, because it ain't always up to her.
You know what, man? I'm gonna say this because it's very unpopular, but I've always felt this notion. How are we more or above what carried us? I've always had to struggle like how am I superior to, I came out of her. She carried me, you know, so and that's just me. I've wondered that. I've struggled with that. Okay, I'm a man, you know, male, feminine, like you said, but I just always thought, well, man, is she not getting enough credit? Are they trying to make us forget about her?
No, this is a part of the program. This is a part of history. When you deal with the scripture, it always refers to the woman as something evil, Eve. It always refers to her as this influence that man must reject, of this influence that man can't trust. This goes into why they killed 6.2 million women during the Salem witch hunts. This goes back into why they began to extinguish tribes when we went through a period of being colonized, and they began to extinguish tribes that praised feminine energy or that worshiped or reverenced feminine energy. This is when they began to understand the power of the woman, and they call her a witch. This is when you deal with the aspects of the woman being usurped. Okay? This is how they come in, you dealing with the Aristotles, the Hippocrates, the Constantines, the even Alexander the Greats. All right? These people came into Egypt and they learned the science of us. And they began to use it to conquer. This is the conquistador mentality. This is what was given to us by history. That we heard, that we own women, that we possess them. This is why in the scripture it talks about trading a woman for certain pieces of silver, 5 pieces of silver. It talks about being able to marry a daughter, giving your wife away, marrying your rapist, right? All these different things that we can talk about in scripture that gives us this aspect that woman came from a man's rib. When we know that every being walking this planet came from a vagina. And I always say, every being, every man, damn near everybody now, that came from a pussy can spend the rest of their life trying to get back in one.
Boy, that's deep. That's cold.
So when you talking about heaven, it's been known to say in African heritage that it's between the black woman's legs.
Come on, man. You know what I just call it, the treasure of the kingdom.
You know, because when you're dealing with the fluids of her, the waters of her, we come from her waters. This is the womb, right? So when we've been removed from the true essence of our femininity, which is saying that we've been disconnected or corrupted through our divinity, this is why we're struggling with being at home in our bodies. This is why we don't trust. This is why as men, we're so logical and we say women feel too much. So this is a usurping of the masculine and the feminine principle, because now we become devoid of that, and now relationships, we face power struggles.
There you go.
So this is all a part of history, and this is why as men, we take on this mentality of we have to conquer women. How many you fuck, bro? How many hoes? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how many have you conquered? Now, we don't have sex with women we make love, we fuck women to make them love us. We don't have sex with them to make love to them.
To connect with them. Hold that thought, brother. Hold that thought. We have been separated from her, and now we emasculate. We're going to break right there, y'all. We'll be back on Digging Too Deep.
Alaskan made Arctic rain honey, raw honey, lotion bars, lip stuff, sweet and spicy relish. Honey that is pure and untamed as the Alaskan wilderness. Get yours today. Arctic rain honey.
We're back, y'all. And we're going to stay right on it. Separation, man.
Mhm.
Let's go.
You know, when I began, see, that's why I was talking about me losing my mother, or my
Right.
mother transitioning. It led me down a path I didn't know what I was seeking. So early on, I began to have visions of this image of this woman. I never seen this silhouette before. And when I started to see the statues of our Set, or what people know as Isis,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why we even call these African or Egyptian, even the word Egypt, right? Egypt was usurped from the word called Kemet.
Kemet, yeah.
Kemet means the land of the black. This the copper colored people.
Mm-hmm.
Kemet is where we get chemistry from. Kemet is where we get mathematics from. Us knowing any type of calendar energy comes from a tribe called the Ma tribe. Y'all can look this up. This was a tribe of women. This tribe of women was known to use the bone of a baboon, the femur.
Mm-hmm.
They began to count the days in between their menstrual cycle.
Okay.
By doing this counting, they began to see the cycles of the moon. They began to see how the moon went from dark to light again and all the phases in between. And they noticed how they were connected to this energy. This is where we got our first calendar from. A lot of our ancient numbers come from the Phoenicians, the Sumerians. Some of the ancient texts are on the wall. The ancient texts are on the wall. They were not written. People talk about Hebrew or, these things being the first language, Arabic.
Right.
The first language was the hieroglyphs. This is why right now we speak in emojis. You can't play with the ancestors, okay?
So we'll always be there.
We're always there.
Wow.
So when you're dealing with this power of the woman and how we understand duality, this is why in the scripture it talks about God begotten his only son. Now, when this talks about begotten, this is just basically saying that the power of the man to create, okay? Which is we have that as masculine principles. I'm not going to take that from us because we got the sperm, all that, okay, brother? We got all that. We the man. Boom. It now has been proven that the woman's uterus and her vagina has to receive the sperm. So this is not a race for one cell.
Right. Is it a vibration?
Watch this. It's a symbiotic relationship. What controls you when you start to have a sexual urge with another person, yet alone a woman? Nature. Can you actually control the urges that you have when you see a woman? Even the woman can't even stop honoring the beauty of another woman, right? So this is how we can see. But if you don't control the animalistic nature, which is where the head of the Sphinx comes into play, this is the constellation of Virgo and Leo. Leo represents our animalistic nature. Virgo is our everyday routines, which can also represent our health. This is why when they say Jesus was born in a manger, this deals with the energy of Cancer. Cancer represents a manger, okay? The reason why is because Jupiter was born during a moon sign. This is why Jupiter deals with a lot of moons. They say Jupiter has like 80 moons, all right? I'm saying this because the feminine principle that we know it can be found in the scripture. We just don't know how to look for it. Whenever you hear the council, whenever you hear Jesus talking to a God, talking to Sophia, they got this Jehovah, all these different things. The darkness that birthed the light. When God was hovering over the waters, right? The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. The waters represent the mother. Whenever you deal with the water, this is the woman. If you were to be driving in a car and you stick your hand out of the window, it feels just like you under a pool, like you're in water. This is why this is the matrix, the womb. The word matrix means womb. How we've been disconnected is because the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, all these different things that our mothers experience when we are born, all the things that are transferred into us. This is why we have something called a moon sign in our birth chart. I've done over 3,000 readings. In all of these readings, I can tell you your relationship with your mother based off your moon sign. It's a science. This is not spookism. This is not something for you to think that this is some bullshit.
I'm gonna definitely give me one. I'm gonna definitely give me a read.
Because
like, for real.
When you understand the science of how you connected to it now, I say this as well. A fool lives by the stars. A wise man makes them dance at his feet. So I don't deal in astrology like most people do to where this is an end all be all. If you express the matters of your heart, you're expressing the stars. Us not understanding the power of our connection to our mothers gives us automatically more of a linear relationship on a relationship with God. This is why what you just said a while ago was so powerful, because when my mother transitioned, the next relationship that I had to let go of was my relationship with God. This sky daddy. Mm-hmm. This God in the sky that can love me more than me, that can love me more than my mama. I was like, where is this love? Because when my mama died, I wasn't looking for God's love. You understand?
And I'm glad you said it, because I was going to try to say, hey, man, so people that are having this feeling, or people that know there's an awakening and want to be part of the vibration, what do they do? How can you tell them through that transition? What advice can you give them, man? What path? What suggestion?
This is why, as we grow and as you become more receptive, this is why the feminine principle ain't never left us. This is why I tell women, you ain't got to fight for nothing. All you got to do is surrender.
Can you say that one more time?
You don't have to fight for anything. Just surrender. Your power is already yours. So as we begin to grow and we come into this state, that's why healing is so big right now. So what is healing about, right? What are you actually healing? Well, you're healing the relationship that you have with yourself. And you're healing those relationships that you cultivated with other people outside of you that are a direct reflection of
that.
You.
Yes.
All right.
Ooh, that's powerful.
So for a lot of it, the journey has already started. For a lot of it, the journey has already began. You're just not aware of it. Wow. The awareness because you're not receptive. This is because we're not present.
And it's crazy because I feel like once you get aware of it, then you feel like you're catching up.
Because a lot of it begins to happen naturally.
And you've been feeling it or thought it or...
Yes. These are called realizations.
Realizations. There
because
you go.
You start to realize that something has been present. You just weren't able to see it.
To receive it, man.
That's when you're talking about even how they give us to be more receptive to something else. So this is why getting back to nature, some of the most main things you can do is get back to nature.
And how can you get back to nature?
By trusting your body, first of all, because your body is nature. Your body's 72% water. Your body's 12% earth. Your body's 4% fire. Your body's 5% fire, 4% ether. The more you're at home in your body, this is why every scripture talks about being at home in your body. And it also talks about Jesus saying through him is the way. Jesus represents your heart because Jesus represents the energy of Jupiter. So that means if you start to let go of condemnation and drop the charges on your goddamn self, one of the main things is you must let go of morality. Now, I don't even tell people what they must do, but you want me to get to the point.
No, you doing it.
So, man, I got to say what it is, because it's us trying to be a good person that stops you from just being your goddamn self. This is why God never kills the devil in the Bible, because you can't kill the fucked up parts of you. You must accept them. You must acknowledge them. You can't blame your mama no more. You can't blame your daddy. This is the age of Aquarius. The information is out there for you, but you can be drowning in information because you're starving for wisdom. You must learn to trust yourself. You must learn to honor yourself. You must learn to appreciate yourself. This way you can stop sacrificing yourself like Jesus did on the cross. You see how religion comes back? This is history. History tells you that you are here to do your own shit and nobody else has to give a damn, or you ain't got to give a damn about nobody else. This is the American dream. In order for you to wake up from the American dream, you must no longer be subscribed to being divided or even, I would say, defined by your accomplishments and your achievements. So what you have or what you don't have can't make you or break you.
Everything.
This is why I like to say this. When the scripture says, what is a man to be in the world, or what is a man to lose his soul and gain the world?
Right.
I say, what is a man to lose the world and gain his soul? This takes a willingness.
Yeah.
See,
A decision.
you have to make a choice,
Come on, man.
willing choice, and you
Yes.
got to stick with it. Now, if you understand that God is always in you, God is not some type of sky daddy that you got to die and go to heaven to experience. God is an eternal existence that exists inside of all of us. When you start to see God in all things, because you see the God in yourself, this is when you can love your neighbor as you love yourself. See? So
They actually took that away. That's
Hey,
why
now,
you can't do it.
because people don't operate in balance and reciprocity and righteousness,
Yes.
because you so busy trying to be a good person, so you hide certain parts of yourself because you're afraid of what people gonna think.
Fear.
Now you deal with being vulnerable, but basically at the core of being vulnerable, you deal with being honest and authentic.
Yes. And you'll be able to receive love.
Because if you can't give it, you damn sure can't receive it.
And that's what everybody wants, love, but 99.9% of them are worthy of receiving it. Because you have to be vulnerable.
Because now we get up into this, and this is what the Age of Aquarius is telling all of us. You are an individual first. I don't know what you've been through. You don't know what I've been through until I share it with you.
Right.
I have to be able to sit with you.
Right.
I have to be able to be receptive to say, brother, what you been through? Let me listen to you.
And maybe we'll find some symbiotism in it.
And
some
now we can
similarity.
start to understand each other without trauma bonding. We're so used to trauma bonding
Yes.
because we're so used to connecting with people through relatable times or relatable experiences. And when it's time for you to outgrow that, you don't know how. Your elevation requires separation. And you have to understand that our relationships might not work. This is what awakening can be so hard for people. It might be the relationship with your mama. It might be the relationship with your daddy. It might be the relationship with your significant other. As you grow and as you evolve, you're evolving into a new version of yourself. It'll be some people that are fighting to keep you the same. It'll be certain people that'll be used to the hurt or the unhealed version of you. So you can't heal in the same environment that got you sick. You have to allow yourself to be ye renewed of the mind. You have to be willing to take on a new thought process. The only thing you can change in this life is your mind. You being connected to the sun, the moon, the stars. This is Solomon's temple. This is all these different things that they talk about in the scripture. You being connected to all this information. This is Aquarius. You are connected to all this information. Your body is the information. What has been informing you? This is why this requires a lot of unlearning.
That's why I wanted to go, because people always want to say, well, what do I do? And I just like to keep it simple. Well, it might not be so much as what you need to start doing. It might need to be what you need to stop doing.
Because people, as human nature, will gravitate more towards pleasure than we will pain. This, I'm going to tell y'all straight up. I'm not one of them people with no toxic positivity like people like to say. This shit comes with grief. This shit come with some lonely nights. This shit come with some not being understood. This shit come with some isolation, because in solitude is where you return to source. If you struggle with being alone, that's a you thing.
Woo! Because in solitude, that's where you're supposed to, like you said, return. I've never heard it put like that, but I've been speaking a lot lately about the source.
Yes.
And, you know, meditation, getting by yourself, all that is to...
Because in meditation requires that you shut up on all levels.
Shut it all out. Wow.
Prayer wants you to tell God that his job ain't good enough in your life. You need more. Meditation means you sit down and you shut up and you receive.
That word show been key. That's the theme.
Because
that's the theme.
It goes back to the feminine principle.
There it is.
And that's why a lot of times it's our first relationship with our mothers. And I like to tell people, don't blame your mama. It's not your mama's fault. Because you got to understand that society has tricked us. So this is social engineering. If y'all really understand the history behind this shit, this is why they spend trillions and billions of dollars on your foods, biochemical warfare, to keep you eating sugars. Every time a woman loses her blood on her menstrual cycle, first of all, second of all, the woman, without the menstrual cycles of the woman, I just told y'all about the Ma tribe in the first calendar. This is why a lot of the calendar deals with lunar cycles. And now we deal with a solar cycle, which is a masculine principle.
And the fact is called a cycle.
Yes, a cycle. And then when you're dealing with this, the patriarchy now exists in the hearts and the minds of people. If you look at the United States, they show you balance. There's never been a president without a first lady. Stop playing with these people. So they honor the matriarch. They just trick you and make you think it's a patriarchy because they understand the power of Saturn is the judge on your bench. This is why we talk about banks. All this is river or ocean technology. The bank of an ocean. Your bank, currency, money is feminine. When you ain't got some money, you don't feel like shit. When you get some money, you feel like you're on top of the world. When you ain't got some woman, you feel like you ain't shit. When you got a good woman, you feel like you're on top of the goddamn world. You see how the shit goes? It's all feminine. So the more we're receptive to understanding our connection to currency, this can keep you current. But this is about you knowing that you are the present. You have to be present to honor your presence, and that allows the currency to flow to you. That's why they say if you do something you love, it is automatically magnetized to you because the urn in your body represents that. When you begin to flow in a certain direction and you begin to control or create the embiotic, because I like to say this like this, bro. As you go through your healing journey, you must learn to deal with your thoughts. You got to learn to master your thoughts. That means you got to learn how to shut up on all levels. Your mind is chaotic. It's meant to just remember shit. It is a chaotic field. It is meant to just retain everything you've ever seen, touched, smelled, heard, tasted. It can be your prison or it can be a divine tool that we've given you. And when I say we, it's because I'm on the side of nature. All right?
Yes, sir.
So the next thing you must learn to deal with is your emotions. You must learn that your feelings ain't always facts. You must learn that at the core of a lot of your reactions is memory. These are your traumas. These are your responses to shit. And now you get compulsive with the way you react to it because it traumatizes or triggers you. You must get to the core of your triggers so you can learn to master your emotions. Then you learn to master this body. If you pay attention, anybody that shows healing, you already on this journey. You start to be mindful of the shit that you consume. You start to be mindful of what you read because you cannot unhear what you hear. You cannot unsee what you see. You start to be mindful of what comes out of your mouth. You start to be mindful of the people you deal with. Now you working out. Now you eating right. The next thing you must learn to deal with is where a lot of people stop. This is where a lot of people start saying that healing is a lifetime thing. You get stuck doing shadow work because you don't know how to master the life force energies. You don't understand the chemistry of your body. You don't understand what cortisol does to you. You don't understand what serotonin, melatonin, T cells, your lymphatic system, your glymphatic system. The reason why I'm even sitting this way, this allows me to cut off emotional responses. So this allows my tone to remain easy.
So do it have to be that leg?
It's dealing with the left leg because the left leg, the left side of the body is the feminine side of the body.
So I should have been doing this the whole.
But it's a practice, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Because being able to put the heel inside of the right thigh, being able to connect the heel, which is the Achilles heel, which you have a cube here in the bottom of your foot. Your foot is invisible or soles, just like your hands. So the ability to connect the inside of my foot with the inside of my thigh cuts off emotional fluctuation in my tonality.
And you can get all of that.
Because now I know my body.
Well, I mean, but you're offering a service. You know, and Marvel, not the network itself, but specifically Diggin Too Deep. Anyone that comes on here, it's because they're offering a service. I mean, not only are you offering a service, though, it's a help for the actual transition. The things you're speaking, man. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here, because this is for the people that hear it. This is for the people that
got the ears to hear.
That itch.
They got the eyes to see.
But it all goes back to, like I said, the thing of this thing is the perception, which they've taken that away from us.
Yeah.
And that's what'll take away from people receiving the simple truth.
That's why they call that word cognitive dissonance. Because people are caught up in beliefs and ideas, and they actually think they know themselves. One of the most scariest things is to realize that you don't really know yourself.
Yeah.
So it's very fragile. As human beings, we're fragile. So even as myself, I've never lost my fragility, so therefore I haven't lost my humanity.
Right.
I know I have a life and I'm here to live it. I enjoy the pleasures of life. I tell people to fall in love with being human. That's the biggest thing I can tell you.
And that's the biggest thing they tell us to not do, man.
Because they tell you that this human life comes with suffering.
That we're nothing. We're a filthy rag. And
if you ever seen somebody die, and I always question people because I watch people transition. I've had some beautiful experiences in my life. I watched my father take his last breath. Yeah. You know, so it's like I watch people die literally in front of my eyes. When you start to understand the power of death, death is here to make you more present with life.
Yeah.
See, this is why something must die in order for you to be reborn. So I like to tell people, they say the ego got to die. I say resurrected. Your resurrection is in your ego. It is in your connection to all these expressions. That's how I started off when you asked me my name. As a feminine principle, this is why they call Isis, or which is better known as Osset, the goddess of 10,000 names. The word Isis means throne. The word Isis and Osiris, this is a usurping of a period called the Hellenization. Mm-hmm. You can look it up. We went through a period where the Romans called it the Hellenization, to where they whitewashed everything. Okay? That's why we know Osiris instead of Asar. Okay? These names represented principles. This is masculine and feminine principles that represented the beginning of
change the name, man,
right?
And hide the principle.
Yeah, so now this is why you see the whitewashing on the walls in Egypt and all this type of stuff, and this is why Egypt is a tourist town now. But when you're dealing with this receptivity and what you just said, the feminine principle, the story of Asar and Osset is talking about Osset put Asar back together after he was cut up and dismembered into 14 pieces. The reason why it deals with the resurrection, because it's the first story, or one of the first stories of the Immaculate Conception. She got the wisdom from Tahuti, which represents the elephant, which represents also Mercury. Okay, it's our planetary. Yeah. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. All right. She got this.
The guy which is with the wings on his shoes.
Yeah,
right?
It's Quicksilver, him right there, right? So it's like that is a Trismegistus, is what they call him in Roman terminology, but it comes from D. Jehudi. This is what a Jedi priesthood, where you get the Jedis dealing with Star Wars, all this comes from the lightsabers. It's right in your face, right?
Wow.
So the lightsabers is your consciousness. But when she put him back together, it was about taking the masculine principle and rebirthing it. Only your body, only the feminine principle has the power to take life, trap it, and give it a body. Only through your mama was the cosmos able to take the spark of life that you are, take you through a gestation, and comes out you. This is the procreation of woman.
Through water.
Man can create, but we cannot procreate. Yeah. Whenever man creates something devoid of the feminine principle, it don't last long. If you create something in your life based off survival, it don't last long. See? So the feminine principle is talking about the thriving in the midst of surviving. This is why we must learn to live in reverse. They taught us that we must do in order to be.
Right.
The moment they ask you what you want to be when you grow up, a part of history, and leaving your shit a mystery, because you've been taught in reverse. You've been taught that you got to go do some shit in order to be some shit, to have some shit.
Wow. Say that one more time.
You've been taught that you got to do some shit in order to be some shit, to have some shit. Woo, now when you ain't got shit, you measure yourself based off of that shit.
And you fail.
And you can't never grow from your own shit. Because you blame it on the devil when you ain't got shit.
Wow.
So growing from your own shit is the lotus, rising from your own filth. This is why you got a root chakra. This is why you can shit out gold, turning lead to gold, the philosopher's stone. All this is moving from the root to the crown. Your crown chakra is gold. Your root chakra is the first 7 years of your life. The childhood shit, the shit you went through with authority figures, your mama, your daddy. You see the shit you got to heal from is moving up the spine, which is creating the kundalini rising. The energy wants to move because energy does not die. It must remanifest itself. So your eating habits may be mostly emotional, which has led you to liking sweet shit, which is why you got diabetes or sugar shit related. Heart palpitations, once it passes your kidneys, it's in your blood. Once it does that, it's in your heart. Once it passes the heart, it's in your brain. So you see why I just a quick breakdown on why we deal with ailments, but it's all energetic.
It's all connected.
If your mama was iron deficient, there's no any woman. I know we wrapping up, but I want y'all to understand something. When you dealing with history, the reason why they moved the feminine principle or removed it is because they don't want you to understand intelligence. People battle with their intellect versus the intelligence. This is why women naturally grow emotionally intelligent faster than men, because you have a menstrual cycle. Because of your menstrual cycle, you must become more aware of your body way quicker than a man can. See?
Yeah.
So without the cycles of the moon and the cycles of the woman, we would not know life on this planet. So the feminine principle is that of power. It is that of intelligence. The masculine principle is that of love, that of intellect. We all have both. This is why women seek love and men seek power. If a man is in tune with his femininity, it actually becomes a safe place for a woman to submit naturally. So if you understand that she's been through things and you are in her life to show her a different part of herself, and you ain't got to say shit, just be it. Be the change you seek to see in her.
That would be powerful in a relationship, but just in relative terms, man. Just
because it turns the relationship into a spiritual experience versus something that becomes an exchange or a fucking contractual
agreement. And it takes
agreement.
away the strife, the friction.
It takes away the power struggle.
Man, we had...
Brother, surrender now.
Hold on. You just said the words because it makes me allude to one of my episodes in Digging Deep. It's in the roles of the kingdom. The kingdom was the home. And everything you alluded to is what I alluded to, man, because I was trying to get the people to stop the struggle. You're both rulers.
Yes.
You know? And you just gave me, as a man, because I always try to be better.
Yes.
So if I could offer anybody, if they say, well, man, what'd you get out of all that? Brothers, what you need to do, man, if you want to get this thing right, man, first thing you got to do is stop. Stop believing everything they told you a man was. Because the worst thing they done us, and I just got this from you, is they took away our strength, which was to be able to receive
and feel.
Yeah. And that's what everything is based on.
And that's why I like to tell brothers, when you understand that a part of you could possibly be looking for your mother and your lovers. Wow. What happened with us as men is, if we don't choose healing, it won't stick.
And the key word in that phrase is what? Choose.
Because when a man don't choose to do it for himself, you do it for your wife, you do it for your kids, you do it for everybody else except
and you can't help it because it's been taken from you.
Even niggas go to jail and do it for God.
See what I'm saying?
And come home and do the same shit. I'm telling you how deep it goes.
It's deeply rooted.
You have to choose it for yourself.
You have to make the choice. So I got to get you back on here. Yes, I got to get you back on the show because I knew it was going to be meaningful, but it was also very powerful and empowering. And as I was saying earlier, man, this is a service because if you can help someone, the first thing I'll do is say, hey, man, you struggling with this? Hey, I'm transitioning too, but there's someone I want you to talk to. How can they get in touch with you?
Man, my first about gratitude for that brother. You know, I always commend brothers for healing. One of the most challenging things I've noticed for me is to get brothers to see their own shit.
Right.
Women are easy to do. They, I need it. Yeah. I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? They be like, yeah. But women are our first teachers, you know? So as the women are healing, it's making brothers have to sit with their own shit.
Right.
A lot of brothers aren't able to do it, maybe when people want them to.
And it still ain't for them.
But I always tell women, cause I don't give a damn, man. Women are our first teachers, so we came from you. So everything we do is to impress you, you know? Whether men are aware of it or not, you know what I mean? So once a woman sets a certain standard, women change nations.
All you gotta do is tell a man, why you think you get your hair cut?
Yeah.
Why you think you go buy clothes? Why you think you go get on a car?
And a lot of times, even if a woman is able to tell a man, you don't love yourself, you can't love me.
There it is.
And a woman has to honor that I don't have the capacity to deal with you and your shit, so I don't have to play build-a-bear. So a lot of times, women have to allow men to go sit with their own shit, saying, I'm not gonna deal with it.
Right.
Right?
It makes so much sense. That's in relative terms.
Yeah, because being able to honor the capacity that you have as this energy, even as men, because a lot of time we can be in tune with our femininity and we can take on a lot of shit too.
Well, you got men.
Be true.
You got men that raise kids.
Yeah,
You know, that,
like they are.
You know,
so
I
I can't discredit those brothers. You know what I mean? Because I know we out here. You know what I mean?
Hey man, I did it for a while before I got with my significant other that I've been with for a very long time.
Yeah.
But you know, she actually helped me to go back and get him. I had to leave. I couldn't heal. I heard you say this. I couldn't heal in that environment that hurt me.
And plus, guess what else? You can't heal what you don't reveal.
There it is.
So us as men, we can't heal what we don't.
I go get help. You don't say what it is.
And that's why I'm here. That's why.
So again, let me ask you.
Yeah,
There's a lot of brothers that don't know they sick.
Yeah.
And if they come to me, I'm gonna say, hey man, I got something for you. I tell the people. I need you to tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
Oh yeah, I already. Well, my tag, of course, is at Sensay9. All right. On Instagram, it's at Sensay_9. All right. On Instagram,
and that's
SENSAY.
SAY.
All right. And on Facebook, it is going to be Sen and then one word say. All right. But I also have a website, which is divineselection.net, which you will see that my beloved makes waist beads and all that good stuff. And also my nonprofit is Healing Time. So I have the EDU to where I teach on astrology, I teach on numerology, I teach on herbs. I also have mentorship programs. I have soul, life, mission, and purpose programs. I do speaking engagements. I travel. I do in-house work. I went and stayed with people for a month or so at a time, for weeks at a time. I'm an herbalist as well. So I've helped reverse heart diseases, herpes. I've dealt with AIDS, bowel syndrome, leaky gut. I mean, diabetes, type 1 and 2. I mean, you name it, I've ran across it. I've also done 3 exorcisms, okay? I do home cleansings. So I do a lot of things, brother. I do a lot of things, man. And so what I like to do is say I'm a solution. So wherever I can meet you at, and my line is always open as well, all right? So my line is open. You can inbox me. I'm very interactive. I'm not one of them people you inbox, and so don't be surprised if you inbox me and I respond quick. All right. So I like to say that I like to make sure I'm relatable and I like to make sure I'm accessible. Because one thing I learned as this energy that we in, this American dream, once you wake up from it, you realize why America love us so much. Because nobody puts that kind of energy or time into selling you their story if they ain't got a certain love or a certain affinity, which equates to a certain fear of you. So when you understand the power of you, you take that back, you know that people are your greatest resource. You can go far, right? You can go fast. You want to go fast, you go with other people. You want to go far, you got to go alone. But if you understand that along the way, people are going to be your greatest catalyst. The true path to enlightenment is never achieved alone. The more receptive you become, that's why when you accept death, death reminds you to embrace life. Something has to die for you to be reborn. We can get too connected. And I want to say this on a feminine principle level. We're too connected to these expressions of us. So people say kill the ego. I say resurrect it. Stop caring so much about what people think and what they feel about you. Stop being over involved in people's lives. Stop allowing yourself to be saying yes with your lips and no with your heart. I'm going to say that one more time.
Please
stop saying yes with your lips and no with your heart. The heart is what's waved. This is where comedic science teaches us. The Bible tells you that the heart is deceitful because if your heart is too fixed on too many goddamn things, it will deceive you. Find one thing to devote yourself to and watch this life become receptive to you. So the more you can feel, the more you become receptive. And this is talking about a power of you. So if you walk in that essence, the vibration, I'm going to give y'all the science behind this to let y'all out. You have iron in your body for a reason. When you begin to, this is why they keep us iron deficient. I'm telling y'all some real shit. They keep us iron deficient when they keep you out of the sun, when they keep you away from eating sun foods. When you're disconnected from nature, you become vitamin D deficient, and vitamin D is heavily needed to absorb iron in the body. Okay? When the irons in your body are vibrating on a certain level and you walking in a certain confidence and joy, this is when time becomes obsolete. When you doing something you love, don't you gotta look up? I guarantee I ain't even looked at the clock.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how much time done passed.
That makes so much sense.
Right? We supposed to been doing this for 2 hours, but when you get involved in something, time don't matter. This is when you doing something that you truly are devoted to. When you begin to be aware of something, you being dragged into something. That means your mind is all over the place. This is frustration. Frustration is borderline depression. Okay? So when you understand this, when you be present, this means that something has to die. Allow yourself to get so connected to you, to the presence of you, to where I can be right here and not worried about all the other shit that I have to do today. So get lost in the moment. All life is one moment. It's not an accumulation of shit. Get lost in
the moment.
Fall in love with this life. This is when you're doing something that you love. Time becomes an illusion, but you must be mindful that you ain't gonna be here long.
Sensay 9. On Digging Too Deep. On the Marble Knot Network. Gratitude. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes,
that was
sir.
powerful. Keith, why digging too deep? Well, I'm glad you asked. Digging too deep is simply a service to empower. So if I can prevent someone from experiencing some pain or help someone in any given situation, that is what digging too deep is for.